Welcome to RP Gamepire, and if you've guessed, we're going to venture in the world of myth. And I have to say, it is a game that I've been looking forward to set up on my table, because it's a game that I would dare to compare, even though it had much criticism and much love from different communities. It's a game that I would compare to Pathfinder, to D&D, to Dark Eye, to all great RPGs. Light version though. Light. So I'm going to go on a rant right now to let you know that the reasons why I think this game is phenomenal, and more important, I'm not going to illustrate all the components. I'm just going to get to the point of what you see in front of you, so then we can venture forward together and adventure in this world of myth, which I think is a beautiful world and landscape and has much to offer, just like Forgotten Realms and all the other great worlds that we have adventured in the past. Now, this has been released in 2014 by Megacon. It's currently owned by Ulysses, who are the creators of Dark Eye and other RPGs. It is in good hands, and because this game has gone through some iterations, it has expanded to the point where it has plenty to offer for those that love RPG, and let me show you why. So this was the original walkthrough that you would get the first time, and I gotta say, it's not the most beautiful thing to look at, but that wasn't the issue. It was more confusing, and it left you with much more questions. Didn't really answer much of what you wanted to understand and how to play. It had a lot of illustrations with more confusing parts moving around, and the errata was just more erroneous than anything. And it kind of pushed a lot of those that would fall in love with this game away. Now, you have to understand, this was released on Kickstarter as a board game, but it's more of a semi-tabletop board game, RPG / whatever you want to call it. And the issue that came out of it was more this rule book, 60 pages of, well, if you read it several times, like I did, you'll pretty much get it down packed, but at the same time, nobody wants to read 60 pages a few times. And the most thing that kind of deterred a lot of great people that wanted to put this together is that I'll get into later, but more important, I want to show you before I talk on that subject as I go on a rant, is the components. Look at all these beautiful components that this game has to offer. Now, most board games that you know will offer you some form of components as much as this, or probably more, especially if you've looked into Midara. Now, this game has gone, that was 1.0, and then it moved to 2.0, and 2.0, it answered a lot of questions, it clarified a lot of things, it made the game more playable and enjoyable, even though I thought it was originally playable from the start, but it gave it some clarification that made it more enjoyable to those that like not to be left to asking the questions. And what I mean by that, if you look at 2.0, they kind of clarified something very important here. And let me read it to you, and hence why I love it and why some people hate it. So it says, on the surface, Myth is a miniature game, role-playing game, board game hybrid. However, its true nature is that of a cooperative storytelling hobby. I like that. All right, inspired by role-playing but grounded by miniature-based tactics. I love it already. And card-driven gameplay. I love it. If you ever played great game like Mage Knight, and you should check it out. Now, card game, strategy, building characters, etc. is just phenomenal in this kind of sense. While Myth can be approached as a traditional board game, its foundation is built on the premise that the players should have complete control on how they both create and play their own fantasy worlds. Stop. Before you read the rest, before you look at the rest, that threw off a lot of people. So it's kind of saying almost, this is an RPG. This is an adventure. We want you to enjoy it. So there is set rules and guidelines, but nothing is in stone because in the end, fun overtakes the rules. But people didn't like that. They like to be told, okay, characters can only be put there, this can only move there, and that you can only touch it then, etc. Then it moves on and says something even more confusing to those, in my personal opinion, that might have set off certain people in liking or disliking the game. The rules for Myth are presented to players in a form of suggestive guidelines. Oh boy. So it's like, I hope you like what you see, on how to craft their game experiences, as opposed to concrete laws that are rigid and unbreakable. Right there, it kind of sets it like in worrisome. So, did I understand? Am I allowed to do this or not? Oh, the hell with it. I'll just, Players are encouraged to modify and add to these rules as they see fit to provide their gaming group with the challenge and satisfaction that suits their specific playstyles. Now, without moving on and reading the rest of the manual, I just want to say that itself created a lot of criticism. And aside from the manual being a little bit in disarray, but the clarification that came in 2.0, the game was playable in my opinion, and it was a job well done. All right. The game components, the game, what it has to offer, and that is something that you can see and watch in other videos. It's not something that I will personally offer in this video. My offering is to tell you that I'm welcoming you to the world of Myth, and we're going to venture forward together like we have adventured before. And we're going to do it with the most formidable characters and heroes that will reveal themselves in the next video. Now, there have been expansions, there have been stretch goals, there have been modules, and this is one of them called Shores of Canis. And again, more components, and like I said, the stretch goals and the modules offered even more components. So this is one, and this is another expansion, Blackwall Warrens. And this was all part of the 2.0 or 2.5 if you want to see. Now came 3.0 from Ulysses, and 3.0 is still being worked on, and I think by the time Ulysses gets done, look amazing. Look how thick is this. Like a Bible, like a real RPG Bible. But the thing is, once Ulysses is done, I'm sure it's going to be a 4.0. So what does this all has to offer? Look at this. This is like a real RPG. You have the world of Myth, the rules, Slaughterfield rules, tavern rules, single player rules, that thing model, heroes, personal allies, Bestiary, art of Myth, item index, etc. Now, to detail those that are trying to understand what I mean by RPG and why I give it that value, look at this. Heroes that you can be, from the basic heroes to the higher leveled heroes that you can become. They're called journeyman heroes, and later on there's master, etc., that have not yet been revealed, but Ulysses will reveal them in time. And more important, the novice heroes, like the typical class. Look how many classes you have, first of all. And more importantly, there's the acolyte, like the healer type, you could say. The apprentice, the wizard type. The archer is like, the archer. And the brigand is the thief. And the soldier is like the fighter. And the skald is like the bard, etc., 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 etc. It goes all the way down. And some of these classes have dual classes they could level up to. So the acolyte can become a mendicant or a necromancer. And if you look at the soldier can become a warrior or a battle dancer. And the skald can only become a virtuoso, or the hunter can become a slayer, and the swashbuckler become a pirate. So again, this has the depth and to be competitive and loving and adventurous as any great RPG out there. And I have to say, they lay out each character, and explain them the story, background, the style of play, how to play it, and the synergies that they play well with and which characters, etc. Now, for the Bestiary, look at that. All these creatures and characters to play with and to create your own adventures. And look at this beautiful, beautiful picture. And the world bosses. You got world bosses. Look at that. The darkness, the Kraken, the Sferatu, the sisters, the collector, etc. So this, and with detail explaining you the tarot with 1,000 legs, explaining you there's background stories, and each one is flagged, by the way. So if you could see, these flags and the icons are all explainable in the back. Okay? Look at all these icons. This is the icons within the game that are used, and you can pretty much understand, like here, like the monster ranks. There's the minions, the captains, the commanders, the agent, the mini boss, boss, and world boss. World boss, well, that's gonna be a fight and a half. And more important, they illustrate to you in the back all the possible items and type classification of the items. Like you could see, there's the white classified items, there's the brown type, and there's the green, and there's the blue. And in terminology, for those that have played RPGs or played, you know, all those amazing adventures, they're like, think of it as the common, uncommon, you know, epic, legendary, rare items that you may find while you adventure and play. So again, and there's the purple items, you know, gold sets, the set items that where you can find equipment. So this is just minute in what this has to offer, you know, in a sense of adventuring. And this is what I want to illustrate to you and to show to you. And before we move on and adventure in this beautiful world of myth, I hope that you love it and like it just the way I do, and understand that what's to come is a great adventure of 5 amazing heroes that want to share their adventure in the world of myth with you as they campaign through different adventures, different sagas, and they become more powerful in this world of myth, and they share the very tribulations this world is going, for there is the light and the darkness in this world, the evil and the good, and hopefully that we can bring the good and shine the light into this good world. And I hope you stick around and see you on our first adventure and first story.